You travel around the world and you see different people, you meet different people, you talk about them. But the gentleman sitting next to me is somebody nobody has a bad word to say about, Kane Williamson. Nobody has a bad word to say. Is that just who you are? Is that the exuberance that comes through? Or is that a little naughty streak somewhere that world hasn't seen?
I guess that's up to them. I don't know. I can't really comment too much.
As captain, it's important though, isn't it? Is it important to be likable as the captain? Because now you're captaining virtually every side that you play for.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of that. I suppose the most important thing is the environment, trying to move in the right direction, and sometimes that can upset people, but ultimately it's for the greater good, and then if they understand it, then it's okay. And I guess it's trying to find that balance between making sure the guys are all sort of happy and tracking well versus maybe making some of the tougher decisions.
How different is it captaining New Zealand versus captaining the Sunrisers?
Yeah, I guess it is quite different. With New Zealand, I mean, the structures where you've grown up playing your different age group cricket to now playing for New Zealand and captaining in all forms. There is a different dynamic perhaps to franchise cricket, and here at Sunrisers with a different coach, etc. there are some natural differences, but all enjoyable.
Because when you're playing for New Zealand, you know all the people, you've probably grown up together. Here you suddenly, everyone thrust into an environment where you've got to be friends for 2 months, but you might have been playing against each other. So how do you share information? How do you function as a team knowing that tomorrow I'm probably going to be playing against him?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think certainly the IPL's led that in terms of the interaction with players from other countries because of simply the competition that we're involved in. And it has been amazing how open pretty much all the cricketers are about how they operate and what we're going to look to do against other opposition, and which is cool, and everybody's able to learn and hopefully improve.
I mean, it's interesting just watching your top three, for example. There's an Australian who's sort of fiery, temperamental. There's an Englishman, and there's you in the top three. Three people from different cultures, different countries, gel easily?
Yeah, sounds like a bad joke, doesn't it? Englishman and Irishman. Yeah, it's great. I mean, with Johnny, I played a bit with him at Yorkshire, so there's a little bit of a connection there, and obviously spent a lot of time with Davey here at the Sunrisers, so it's certainly great to have him back, and those two are on fire at the moment, which is brilliant for us.
And I've often wondered, at New Zealand, one of your lead bowlers, you said, is someone like Trent Boult, for example, who's been fantastic for you over the years, and now he's Delhi Capitals. David Warner's your teammate here at Sunrisers. Do you discuss what's the best way to play against Trent Boult, knowing that there's a big game coming up at the World Cup in a couple of months' time, where Boult is on your side and you're thinking of plotting to get Warner out?
That's an interesting thing, because often the opposition sort of play against our bowlers more than we do. We face them in the nets, and often they're working on what they're working on, but in terms of a game situation, so if we use Davey for example, he's faced Trent a number of times and he'll have his own plans, but we all discuss sort of our options and how we best try and do things that suit our game, but everybody's very different.
Even at the Sunrisers, you've got a couple of people from Afghanistan, you've got New Zealanders, you've got a Sri Lankan coach, you've got a lot of young Indian players who've not seen the rest of the world. As a captain, how do you learn to relate to each one of them differently? Because you still have to.
It's one of the beauties, I think, of and one of the challenges, I suppose, coming into captaining in an environment where you do have so many different cultures. But that was one of the things that I was looking forward to, is actually seeing that dynamic and how it would work. And to be honest, there's the common theme of cricket amongst all of those guys and all of those cultures, which is always great, and it does help, but it often brings a number of ideas to the table and different views. So playing here, we're in an Indian tournament. A lot of the local players have a lot of knowledge on the surfaces and the opposition, so it's important that you tap into the knowledge from guys that are playing from other countries, but especially the guys that are here and the local players.
The IPL's been good to you. I mean, you've been good to the IPL, but the IPL's been good to you as well. Last year, 735 runs? And suddenly everyone said, there's players like Williamson, there's players like Pujara, they're sort of very orthodox, nice, good players. And suddenly 735 runs, we saw a different side to you.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to be able to play a number of games and contribute, which is what you set out to do. But I think as a player, you're always trying to evolve your game and improve. And with the T20 format coming in and we're playing so much of it now, it was a format that I guess, or any format that you approach, you're trying to move your game in the right direction. So it was nice to be able to spend some time in the middle last season.
Did you find, for example, you've gone from the IPL, you're playing one-day cricket for New Zealand. Did you find you're suddenly playing more shots than you were before, for example? Does that creep in, or do you have to still think about that as a different game?
Yeah, I suppose there's some natural adjustments that you do need to make whenever you're changing formats, and for me that's sort of the most important thing is making those adjustments, but trying to play the role that you need to for the team. So what the situation dictates, and commit to that.
You've got quite a squad here at Sunrisers. I mean, we were just looking at it the other day. You could actually create two teams, and they'd be fairly well balanced. How much of an input goes into, say, someone like you, because there's Storm, there's Lakshman, there's so many other people, into saying, I want these kind of players in my side?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, I suppose, to selection, and in such a short tournament, you're trying to find the right recipe, and you have some close games, and there's so many different things that you can look back on. But I guess I share my thoughts, but at the end of the day, there's a number of people that have an opinion on that, and whatever we decide collectively, then we commit to it and go with it.
So you're not the chef, you just go to the buffet. Go to the buffet and say, right, what can I pick
share
from
your
that?
opinion, yeah. I mean, last year, obviously it was a last minute decision to come in, and captains sort of were coming into, without a doubt, an environment that had been there, although it was a new team after the main auction, where guys were sort of fairly well established, and so it was important to come in, I believe, and try and work with what we have and the people that we have, and I guess this year it's a similar challenge.
I mean, you got a pretty good deal in the trade as well, didn't you? I mean, you lost Shikhar Dhawan, but you didn't have a bad deal. You got Vijay Shankar and Shahbaz Nadeem and young Abhishek, so that was not a bad deal.
Yeah, I mean, Chick has been a great player for the Sunrisers for a long time, and you have these trades and the dynamic of the IPL, and someone like Vijay Shankar, who was here at the Sunrisers prior, and his game's moved forward so much, and obviously playing for India now as well, and he's come in both games and all through the summer back home against us, and hit the ball beautifully, so hopefully they can continue.